Jake passes a semi-truck on the highway on a Tuesday morning. He has passed 3 today. He passes them every single day of his life, heading to work, heading home, heading to the grocery store, and he has never once wondered what it actually costs to keep that truck moving. He knows the driver is there. He knows the truck came from somewhere. He knows that every product he has ever bought, every Amazon package, every piece of furniture, every grocery item, every phone, every piece of clothing, traveled in a truck like that one before it reached his hands, but the economics between those facts are completely invisible to him. And today that changes, because the economics of owning a trucking fleet are one of the most fascinating, most brutal, and most misunderstood business models in the entire American economy, and understanding them changes how you see every highway, every loading dock, and every price tag on everything you buy. The truck itself. Everything starts with the asset, a new Class 8 semi-truck, the big ones Jake sees on the highway, cost between $150,000 and $200,000. And that truck, from the day it is purchased, begins depreciating, losing value at approximately 20 to 25% per year, which means a $200,000 truck is worth $150,000 after year 1 and $80,000 after year 3. And the trucking company must either replace it, refinance it, or run it to the point where maintenance costs exceed the revenue it generates. And the decision of when to replace a truck is one of the most consequential financial decisions a fleet owner makes, because replacing too early costs capital, and replacing too late costs reliability. And reliability in trucking is everything, because a truck that does not run does not generate revenue, and a truck that does not generate revenue still has debt payments due. The fuel reality: Jake passes the truck and the truck driver is pulling over at a fuel station. A standard semi-truck has a 240-gallon fuel tank and gets approximately 6 to 8 miles per gallon, at current diesel prices of approximately $4.50 per gallon. Filling that tank costs $1,080, and a truck that drives 110,000 miles per year uses approximately 15,000 gallons of diesel annually at $4.50 per gallon. That is $67,500 in fuel per truck per year before the driver earns $1, before the insurance is paid, before the maintenance is done, before the loan payment on the truck is made. $67,500 disappearing into the tank, one fill at a time. And when the Iran war pushes diesel above $5 per gallon, which it has in many markets in 2026, that number climbs to $75,000, and the fleet owner, who signed fuel surcharge agreements with their clients months ago, is absorbing the difference. The insurance crisis? Here is the piece of trucking economics that most people never hear about, and that is quietly destroying small fleet owners across America. Commercial truck insurance has increased between 15 and 40% in the last 3 years, and the reason is nuclear verdicts. When a semi-truck is involved in a serious accident, juries are awarding damages in the tens and sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, regardless of whether the trucking company was at fault, because juries see a corporation with an insurance policy and decide that the corporation can afford to pay, and the insurance companies who are paying those verdicts have passed those costs directly to trucking fleet owners in the form of premium increases that many small operators cannot absorb. The average insurance cost per truck for a small fleet operator was $8,000 per year 5 years ago. It is now between $12,000 and $18,000 per year, and for some operators with any accidents in their history, it is significantly higher or unavailable at all. The driver economics, the driver who Jake sees behind the wheel of the truck, is typically paid by the mile, not by the hour, which means that every hour spent waiting at a loading dock, every hour stuck in traffic, every hour delayed at a weigh station is an hour the driver is not earning money on a revenue model that is already thin, and the driver shortage that has been building in America for 15 years has pushed driver wages from $45,000 per year a decade ago to between $55,000 and $85,000 per year today, which sounds like good news for drivers. And it is. But it represents a cost increase of 30 to 40% for fleet owners, who cannot always pass that increase to their clients. Because their clients have signed multi-year freight contracts at fixed rates, the rate per mile reality, here is where trucking economics become genuinely complex. The freight rate, the amount a trucking company charges to move a load from point A to point B, fluctuates with supply and demand in ways that can change dramatically within weeks. In 2021 and 2022, when supply chains were disrupted and demand for trucking was at historic highs, rates reached as high as $4 and $5 per mile. and new trucking companies formed almost overnight to capture the windfall. In 2023 and 2024, demand normalized, rates collapsed to $2 and $2.50 per mile, and many of those same companies that had formed during the boom failed because they had taken on debt to buy trucks at peak prices that they could not service at $2 per mile rates. This boom and bust cycle is one of the defining characteristics of the trucking industry, and the companies that survive it are not necessarily the ones with the best trucks or the best drivers. They are the ones with the lowest debt, the highest cash reserves, and the discipline not to expand during booms that makes them resilient during busts. The fleet mathematics. Here's what the full economics look like for a fleet owner running 10 trucks, gross revenue at $3 per mile and 110,000 miles per truck per year, $3.3 million annually, from which comes fuel at $67,000 per truck, $670,000 total, driver salaries at $70,000 per truck, $700,000 total, insurance at $15,000 per truck, $150,000 total, maintenance at $17,000 per truck, $170,000 total, truck payments at $30,000 per truck per year, $300,000 total, dispatch, accounting, compliance, office costs, approximately $200,000 total costs, $2,390,000, net profit on $3.3 million in revenue, approximately $900,000, a net margin of 27%, which sounds reasonable until you realize that one bad accident, one insurance claim, one fuel price spike that the freight contract does not allow passing through, one driver who leaves and takes a week to replace can turn that $900,000 profit into a $200,000 loss. In a single quarter, the tariff connection. Jake passes another truck on the highway and thinks about his grocery bill, which has increased 40% in 3 years. And the trucking economics explain part of why. When tariffs make imported goods more expensive, those goods still need to be transported from ports to warehouses to stores. And the additional cost of that transportation at higher fuel prices, with higher driver wages, with higher insurance premiums, is embedded in every price tag Jake encounters. Trucking is not just how goods move, it is how costs move. And in 2026, those costs are moving upward faster than at almost any point in the last 2 decades. Here's the bottom line about trucking fleet economics. It is a business that America cannot function without, that runs on margins so thin that a single bad quarter can bankrupt an operator, that is currently being squeezed by fuel costs on one side, insurance costs on another, and driver wages on a third, and somehow continues to deliver every product that Jake has ever bought, to every store and doorstep he has ever visited, at prices that feel high to him, but represent some of the most efficient logistics economics in the history of human commerce. The truck passes Jake on the highway. The driver is 4 hours into a 10-hour shift. The fleet owner is checking fuel prices on his phone, and somewhere in a warehouse, Jake's next Amazon package is being loaded by a forklift into the back of a truck that costs $180,000, that gets 6 miles per gallon, and that will charge $3 per mile to move that package 200 miles closer to Jake's front door. You have been decoded. If this video made you see every truck on the highway differently, and every price tag as the end of an economic journey you never fully understood, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the economic systems that move every product through every supply chain in America. Simply, honestly, and clearly. Drop a comment below. Does knowing the economics of trucking change how you think about the prices you pay for everything? Tell me below. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.